When we look at executive comp, there's really a few different aspects of executive comp that we analyze. First and foremost is really just base pay, right? What am I getting for the job that I've been hired to do? What is my base pay relative to market or relative to, others in the industry? If I'm executive VP, what is that compensation, right? And how we help analyze that for clients is we go through a benchmarking analysis. We have resources, either external resources, data sets that we use that are available in the public markets. And we've also created our own peer groups, depending on the industry, the type of client, revenue size, geographic location, et cetera, to be able to analyze what somebody's base pay is. And usually it's a range, right? In any organization, we don't want to pay somebody the least amount of money for that role, but we also don't necessarily want to pay the most, right? We want to be in that, what's that benchmark or that quartile that we want to be in from a base pay perspective. Once we've analyzed that, it really becomes the short-term incentive. So what's that annual bonus, right? Is that performance driven? Is that metric driven? Is that personal, development or characteristics? And how do we define those different metrics, right? Is it based on a company size, profitability, revenue, free cash flow, earnings, value, whatever that might be? Do we want to break it down by divisional performance? Do we want to have other KPIs, right? Maybe it's a safety metric or number of new opportunities or efficiency metrics or those types of things. And so we really analyze those and then develop a plan in order to be able to pay out those bonuses. You asked earlier about what are the risks, right, associated with designing a compensation plan. And it's really truly in that design component. If we have a metric that doesn't lead to the right outcome, it's not the executive's fault. Right? We just gave them the wrong metric. They went straight for that metric, achieved it, but we didn't create the right result for the company. And so we really have to spend a lot of time, discovery, conversations with the client, using our industry expertise to really design that compensation plan that fits those metrics that's going to lead to the outcomes that we want to have for that operating business, right? A great example of that is if we tell a salesperson, no offense to any salespeople out there, that your metric is revenue. Well, what they could do revenue, but not have any profitability associated with it, right? They could generate or target, I'm going to undercut the entire market just to hit my metric, right? And so that's where we have to think through that, analyze that, pick revenue, but maybe we have a minimum profit threshold, right? Or something like that. So that really covers the short-term incentive piece, right? That annual bonus plan. The last aspect of executive comp is long-term incentives, right? You might see it, LTIP plans, long-term incentive plans. And these are really designed for somewhere in the 3 to 7 year range for executives, right? In other words, we want to compensate people on what they're doing today. That's their base pay. We want to compensate them on how well they did that given year. That's their short-term incentive. But what's the long-term vision, right? What's the growth of the company, whether it's shareholder value, enterprise value, earnings metrics, whatever that might be. And how do we increase the long-term, the longevity, if you will, right, of that operating business? There's different ways to compensate individuals on that. We might be using stock or real equity, right? So you're giving somebody equity considerations, making them an owner of the company, making them a shareholder. Or we might use some sort of phantom or synthetic equity, right? A stock appreciation rights plan, phantom stock, those types of different, strategies to increase the likelihood of success because we've created the metric that rewards those people on a 3, 5, 7 year basis, right? And from an executive comp standpoint, I think the whole goal is to really make sure that we have a well-rounded compensation plan, right? Quality-based pay, paying me for what I'm doing each and every day, a great short-term incentive plan. So I have metrics that I'm targeting. I know what's the scoreboard look like. I know how well or how not well I'm doing. And then that long-term incentive piece that really combines both of those first two, but over a longer time horizon. From an owner's perspective, I'm looking at it of not making sure I pay somebody a lot of money today, but I want to pay them a lot of money over a long period because that means that the company is going to be worth more, right? I'm generating those long-term initiatives that I've set out to accomplish.